Do you know there's more to life than just the 9 to 5 grind? Do you want to live a life of fulfillment? 10 years ago, that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to get out of that 9 to 5 grind, and I wanted to live a life filled with fulfillment. And if I could take a mulligan and go back then and start over knowing what I know now, here are the 5 areas that I would focus on if I was just starting out on my mindset journey. The first one, create a mantra. I created a mantra 30 years ago, and it has been the one pillar that has helped me the most in my times of need. The way I created my mantra is a story from my PD days. I actually did it accidentally. I didn't even realize that I was doing it, and then it became the tool that I use the absolute most. Young police officer, just a few weeks on the actual job. Just got out of the academy, went through my training, and now I'm sitting in an RMP. An RMP is a police car. And I'm sitting there next to a senior guy. He had about 12 years in the job, and we're just sitting there listening to the radio, watching people walk back and forth. PD there's a lot of highs, a lot of adrenaline rushes, but there's a lot of lows. And this is one of the lows. We were just fighting the boredom of being a cop. And the radio crackles with a radio run. They call us for a robbery in progress. And we race over there, throw the lights and sirens on. We race over there. We pull up in front of the storefront. And here comes the suspect, the perpetrator, out of the store. And they lock eyes. My partner and the perp lock eyes. And you could hear I could hear my partner say, "Don't do it, don't do it." And I'm thinking he's saying, "Don't raise the gun and shoot at us." Later on, I found out that he didn't want the guy to run. And that's exactly what the guy did. He bolted down the sidewalk. My partner jumps out of the car, I jump out of the car, we give chase. This guy runs down the sidewalk, turns the corner, and continues to run. My partner runs down the sidewalk, turns the corner, continues to run. Now, in the academy, they tell us that corners bite. Corners are dangerous. Don't just go running around the corner, because if you go running around that corner, you don't know where that perpetrator is. You don't know if he's hiding behind the car, he's ready to jump out and grab you, and this guy's got a gun. So now I'm running towards this corner, and the other thing they tell you in the academy is never leave your partner. Oh, hold on a second. So I'm not allowed to run around the corner blindly, and I'm not allowed to leave my partner, and both those things just happened. Now what the hell do I do? So I'm scared shitless. There's no other way of saying it. I was scared. I had my revolver in my hand. I was white-knuckled. I'm screaming in the radio about the foot pursuit. I have no clue what's going on when you really think about it. And do I stay with my partner? Am I loyal to my partner? Do I have the integrity that we're a team and we stay together? Or do I kind of leave him out, hang out to dry? And I worry about myself. And you got to remember, I want you to make all of these decisions running towards the corner. It was 50 feet away. Split second. So I chose to run around the corner. And when I got around the corner, what I saw was my partner making the arrest. And I asked him later on, I said, "Hey, Jack, how'd you go around that corner so quickly? Weren't you afraid?" And he said, "If I don't go around that corner, he gets away. He gets to do this another day. That's not happening on my watch." And he literally said that. He said, "Not on my watch." That's how he ended the conversation. "Not on my watch." And he just walked away from me. And I stood there and I'm thinking about this. Not on my watch. Not on my watch. And I didn't think much more after that. But the next time I faced a life and death scenario, whether that was I was chasing a guy with a gun, I was doing a car pursuit, I was going down a hallway to a noise complaint that just didn't seem right, I was chasing a guy into the projects, I was searching a warehouse. I can remember specifically using this. It was an industrial area, and one of the first times I used this is a big industrial area, a whole bunch of 30-yard dumpsters. And we had to search each one of those dumpsters. Now, you couldn't open up the doors on all the dumpsters. Sometimes you had to climb up the dumpster and look inside. Sometimes you had to walk down aisles. Think of like a loading dock, like just aisles of dumpsters. And it's nighttime, it's dark out. I'm climbing up this dumpster, peeking over the side. This guy could be there with a gun and shoot me. My heart's pounding out of my chest. And I can remember thinking, not on my watch. Jack said, not on my watch. I'm going to do a Jack. I remember saying that. I'm going to do a Jack. And that's when I started using the mantra. And I use the mantra even to this day. I use the mantra to snap me out of when fear strikes. My mantra is, it just hits the reset button. It's like, oh, come over here. Let me slap you silly a little bit. Are you in the best position you could be in? Yes. Okay, then you're allowed to proceed forward. I can't guarantee that you're going to be okay when you proceed forward. This is my mantra talking to me. I can't guarantee you're going to be okay when you proceed forward. But you're proceeding forward being in the best possible position you could be in. So now I proceed forward. And I use that in PD in all of those scenarios. I used it when I rolled over to the fire department. The scariest time, the absolute scariest time I was in the fire department that my mantra saved me was my first run as a fireman. It was right after 9/11, and I'm standing in the lobby of a 50-story high-rise. All I could think about was 9/11. And not on my watch is what I used to snap me back into reality. Hold on a second. Slow down here. Is your fear really real? No, not really. Everybody doesn't look concerned, and these guys, like, literally were in the fire department on 9/11. So they have a lot more experience than I do. Now I was there on 9/11, but they were in the fire department on 9/11. So as I looked around, and the civilians were all calm. Everybody was just walking around like it was no big deal. There was no chaos. It was just, I realized it was just my mind playing tricks on me. And that's what the mantra does. The mantra lets you take a breath, lets you take a step back, assess the situation, and then determine if you should move forward or not. Number 2, I would pay attention to elevating my level of perception. One of the first things I learned in mindset, this is actually the first real lesson I learned in mindset, was the 7 Levels of Perception by Bruce Schneider. He writes a book called Energy Leadership. Go out, buy the book, read the book. Look up the chart right now, 7 Levels of Perception. Look up the chart, and you can live, and you kind of elevate yourself and come down and up and down, but those 7 levels. And primarily the first 4 or 5 is where we spend our time. Now, I was living in level 2, conflict. Every time something happened, I would lash out at it because I didn't know any better. But as I delved into that and I learned that life happens for me, not to me, when I learned about the different levels and how I could approach the same situation from a different level of perception, and I could elevate myself. I could act as a victim. I could act in conflict and lash out. I could act out of concern. I could act out of responsibility. Taking responsibility for the situation, even if you aren't directly the cause of the situation, still brings you liberation. It brings you lightness. It brings you calmness. It brings you peace. It sounds crazy, but it actually is true. And that's why, starting off, I would pay attention to how I'm perceiving things. Because as I perceive situations, opportunities can open up out of those situations, out of those experiences. That brings us to number 3, relationships. Growing up, the man never asked for help. The man always had the answer. I never asked for help. I always had the answer. I was the man. And now, being a cop and the fireman, people typically, especially PD, in PD, people don't call you to celebrate birthdays. They call you when they need somebody to make a decision. And in PD and FD, I was so used to being the guy that made the decision that I didn't ask for help. I didn't go out there and seek out relationships. If I could go back and do it again, I would absolutely make that a priority. Seeking out individuals that have done things that I am looking to do, and just build a relationship with those individuals. Build a relationship with people that are on your level and you can rise up together. There are so many people that I can call right now that would just help me out because we came up together. I helped them, they helped me. Whatever that may be, a chapter in a book, writing an introduction, doing a presentation, whatever it may be. But seek out those people and build out those relationships. How do you build out those relationships? Giftology is a great one. The Go-Giver is another good one. Those are 2 books, Giftology and The Go-Giver. I already mentioned energy leadership. So go out and start studying those philosophies. Number 4, money concepts. This is something that I would change immediately. Back then, I believed that I worked for my money, and that money then purchased items for me. Whatever that may be, a laptop, a car, a house, it didn't matter. But I worked for the money, and then I used that money to pay my bills, essentially, right? Like my mortgage and my loans and my grocery bills and whatever it may be. Then I switched that mindset. That money that I'm earning buys myself assets. And then the cash flow coming off those assets is what I use for my expenses. Why is this different? If I have $100, I'll give you a real life example. I had 10 grand. I went out and I purchased my duplex, $10,000 down payment, right? Now, if I took that $10,000 and I went out and I purchased a car with that $10,000, I would have a car and that would be it. And I would drive that car around and that car would depreciate in value and eventually that car would end up getting replaced. Where's the $10,000? I don't have it. Maybe I sell the car for $5,000, right? But I don't have that $10,000. Now I take that $10,000 and I purchased a house with that $10,000. I then rented that house out. I now have an asset. The $10,000 went into the house. The house is now churning out cash flow, and I'm using that cash flow to pay for my expenses. Specifically, that house, it's the greenhouse. I call it the greenhouse. It was the first real piece of real estate I ever purchased. And that greenhouse is now paying for my daughter's college. And here's the beauty of it. After it pays for my daughter's college, I'm still going to have that asset. And that asset's still going to be spitting out cash flow. I'm going to use that cash flow for something else. So the asset pays for the expense. It's a completely different way of looking at money. Another thing about money and learning money concepts, Psychology of Money is a really good book on this topic also. But money is money infinite or finite? Now, I believe money is infinite because we can always create more of it. How do we create more money? right? Well, the Federal Reserve is the only people that can actually print it. But I can extract as much money to me as I want, and I can create money being wealth, right? Jeff Bezos does it all the time. He expands his business, his wealth goes up. We can't physically make money, but we can create it, and we create it through bringing value to the marketplace. I buy real estate, right? I buy real estate. I fix that real estate up. That real estate's now worth more than when I first purchased it. I take a loan against that real estate, a mortgage, right? It's debt service in commercial, but we'll call it a mortgage for now. I take a mortgage out on that piece of property, and now that piece of property is giving me money back, and I still have cash flow coming in. A friend of mine purchased a house. This is what he does. He goes out into neighborhoods and he purchases houses, and he only looks at 2-bedroom houses. Well, why does he only look at 2-bedroom houses? Because he's looking at 2-bedroom houses at a certain square footage so that he could turn them into 3-bedroom houses. And he just increased the value of that house. A lot of times he turns 2 1s into 3 2s. Now, yeah, there's permitting processes and there's stuff that you have to know. It's not like you just go in there, you throw in a bedroom and you're done. It's more complex than that. But the point is that he's creating money because now he increased the value of that piece of property. Thinking about money through that light, thinking about money through I create money, I create cash flow. I don't earn money. I create it. I attract it. I have a friend of mine that he raises money for syndications, real estate syndications. So he goes out and he has a property that he has to raise money for, raise the down payment for. He goes out and he raises that down payment. He doesn't call it raising capital. He calls it attracting capital because that's what he's doing. I'm attracting everything I do. It's a mindset. Everything I do, the way I conduct myself, the conversations I have, the people I seek out, everything I do, my social media posts, everything I do is about attracting money. So I don't have to raise money. Raising money is I go out and I ask people, oh, I have this deal. Do you want to invest in it? Attracting money is when people start calling me and saying, hey, I see what you're doing. I really like it. I want to know if you have any deals coming up. I have some money through a 1031 exchange that I'm doing. I have a life insurance policy that I just collected on, and I have to deploy capital. Do you have anything? That's attracting money. So just changing the way you're thinking about money and how money works is an absolute game changer. And number 5, become a puzzle builder. That I call puzzle building problem solving, right? I like giving it a little more pizzazz. Become a puzzle builder. And what I mean by that is become a problem solver. So when I was a kid, I'd be building a puzzle, and when my kids were kids, I would be acting as the adult. But when I was a kid, I would build a puzzle and I would come to a hard part, like something I couldn't figure out. And there would be my mother looking over my shoulder saying, turn the piece. Did you try turning the piece yet? Turn the piece, see if it fits in there. Keep turning it. And I would turn it, and I would try a piece, and I would turn it, and I would try a piece, and eventually I found the piece that worked, and it fit right in. Boom! I built the puzzle. Oh yeah! I was all happy with myself. When I was starting my mindset journey, I wasn't used to the challenges that business brought with it. The challenges of figuring out regulations, dealing with clients, finding products, how to set up the products, bookkeeping. I didn't know any of that. You have to attack problems as puzzles that need to be solved. That's all it is. You're just solving a puzzle. You're trying different things until something works. Edison said it best. I didn't fail. I found 10,000 ways or 10,000 items not to use for a filament for the light bulb. And that's essentially what it is. There's just a problem. Sometimes the problem's logical. Sometimes it's money. Sometimes it's cryptograms. But it's just a puzzle that needs solving. And when you're approaching all of your challenges as a puzzle that needs solving, you're elevating yourself. And you're open to whatever you're going to learn in that process. Going through the process of solving the puzzle, right? Of being a puzzle builder, of solving the problem. Going through that process, you then open up your mind to there's opportunity here. Besides opportunity, there's lessons to be learned. And if you start enjoying being a problem solver, then you're going to be out there looking for problems. Your ear is going to become attuned to listening to when people are complaining about something. I love complainers because people that complain are just telling me what challenges they're facing. And if I can go out there and solve that challenge, then I can exchange my ability to solve that problem for cash. You can have everything you want in the world if you help people get what they want. The more people you help get what they want, the more you'll have what you want. It's a very simple theory, right? In words, it's very simple. It's much harder to actually solve the problem, identify the problem, solve the problem, market research, like all of that stuff. But when you're walking around with that in your head, you start seeing lots of different opportunities open up. So those are the 5, right? Creating a mantra, elevating my level of perceptions, building relationships. The number one out of all of these, that's the number one, building relationships. Understanding how money works and become a puzzle builder or a problem solver. Guys, around here, we live up here in the numerator, not down in the denominator. Go out there today and be unstoppable and absolutely crush your day. Have a wonderful day, guys. I'm blessed to be here with you. Thank you for spending this time with me. Have a very blessed day.